Uh, Good evening, students. DM block elements, lecture 4, chemistry, lecture 4, D and block elements. So, still now we are following the D and block elements, properties of the D and block elements. So, in that properties, we are going to discuss about the catalytic property. So, last class we are discussing standard electrode potentials and magnetic property, how to calculate the magnetic properties of the D block elements and their ions. Now we are going to discuss catalytic property. Catalytic property. So whether organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry, we are seeing lot of chemical reactions are going under the catalyst. So many the chemical reaction in our industries. So whatever the chemical reactions we are going, so we are going through the catalyst. That catalytic property we are using only D block elements. So meaning the D block elements can also act as a catalyst. So we know the what is meant by catalyst. Catalyst means catalyst is a substance which cannot involve in the chemical reaction, but which can increase the rate of chemical reaction. Rate means speed of a chemical reaction. So many industries they are getting a lot of properties because of this catalyst. So catalyst can increase the rate of reaction. So the chemical it can help the to complete the chemical reaction in the very fast without involving any chemical reaction. So many industrial process we are using the transition elements as a catalyst. So transition metals having why they are can act as a catalyst means because of same. Here the d orbitals are ready to accept the electrons. So in that d transition elements they are having vacant d orbitals, vacant d orbitals. These vacant d orbitals so ready to accept the electrons. So ready to accept electrons, so involving the chemical bonding. Now for example catalyst of hydrogenation of alkene. So alkene you can take alkene CH2 double bond CH2. So we are using the catalyst is nickel bar H2, nickel or platinum or palladium. But for this especially we are using nickel. So nickel plus hydrogen or platinum plus hydrogen or palladium plus hydrogen, this is the reduction process. So when whatever whether it is oxidation or reduction, here the nickel can act as a catalyst because of here what is the action of the nickel means the sigma bond of hydrogen molecule will be broken and each hydrogen atom will be attached to the each carbon atom that can form the bond with the our catalyst. Two hydrogen atoms then bonded with the partially broken pi bond. See this first nickel can help to break the bond between the hydrogens and it can help to reacting with this reacting species to form CH3 and CH3 like this. Okay, in the certain catalytic process like for example, you are preparing the sulfuric acid, manufacturing of sulfuric acid. We are using the catalyst is manufacturing of sulfuric acid by contact process. Contact process. Contact process is the process for the preparation of sulfuric acid. Is the process for the preparation of sulfuric acid. So in this one, we are using the catalyst is catalyst is vanadium pentoxide V2O5 is the catalyst. What is the action of this V2O5 means? Vanadium pentoxide is used as a catalyst to oxidize SO2. So SO2 plus O2 gives rise. Here we are writing vanadium pentoxide, so it can give SO3. So half mole of O2. So this catalyst can be reducing into vanadium dioxide also. Now another example, for example, Haber process ammonia. Haber's process. So this process is used for the preparation of ammonia. So in this process we are using as catalyst is powdered iron. Powdered iron can act as catalyst. So why powdered iron? When compared with solid state iron, powdered iron it can provide more surface area. So it can help the to more number of reactant molecules are react together. So that's why powdered iron can provide the more surface area. So more will be the chemical reaction. So finally we can get more will be the product. Some other examples we are seeing in some other examples we have to see here. See, hydroformylation of olefins. Olefins means multiple bonds, alkenes. Olefins are converted into hydroformylation. I am adding carbon monoxide plus hydrogen, and there is we are using the A complex compound cobalt carbonate. Then we can get butanol, Al, aldehyde. Okay, another one, preparation of acetic acid from aldehyde. So aldehyde is converted into acid. So what is the difference between aldehyde and acid? There is only one go. So I am adding carbon monoxide by using the rhodium and iridium complex. Rhodium and iridium complex. Now we can get acetic acid. Now we can get acetic acid. Here rhodium and iridium are the used as catalyst. And most important is for the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. Ziegler-Natta catalyst. In this Ziegler-Natta catalyst, we have to use, that is, titanium tetrachloride plus trialkyl aluminum R3A. That trialkyl we can take methyl, ethyl or whatever, C2H5. For example, I am taking C2H5, triethyl aluminum. The mixture of titanium tetrachloride and trialkyl aluminum is called as Ziegler-Natta catalyst. This Ziegler-Natta catalyst most familiar we are using for the preparation of polymers. So polyethylene CH2 double bond CH2, n number of moles. Ethylene molecule I am using the Ziegler-Natta catalyst. Ziegler-Natta catalyst. I am writing simply ZNC. So by using this Ziegler-Natta catalyst, we can get polyethylene CH2 single bond CH2 n times. So this is called as HDPE, high density polyethylene. High density polyethylene. Otherwise, in our textbook they are giving the propine CH3 CH double bond CH2 propine. Same catalyst I am using ZNC, Ziegler-Natta catalyst. We can get CH single bond CH2. So this is propylene. So polypropylene. So many chemical reactions in our organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry we are seeing. So the catalyst majorly we are taking from the D and Deblack element. So D and Deblack elements can act as catalyst because of availability of absorption of electrons. D electrons or vacant orbitals we are having. That vacant orbitals are useful for the bond breaking and bond making formation in the chemical reactions. Okay. So this is the catalytic property. Now another property is alloys formation. Alloy formation. First of all, why metals can form the alloys? While the formation of alloys, what is the use of the alloy? See, any metal can form the alloys means one metal is mixed with another metal or non-metal. So mixture of two or more metals or two or more metal with another metal or non-metal, we can say that is called as alloy. So what is the main role of formation of alloys means to protect the properties of the metals like high tensile strength, high density, rusting property. So all these we can avoid means, so we have to form the an alloy. Generally we are seeing in railways, railway poles they are coated with aluminum because of protection from the rusting from the atmospheric oxygen and water molecules. So the iron will be rusted, so they are coated with the aluminum. Alloys formation, mixture of one or more metals, simply we can call as alloys. So that alloys, lot of alloys will be formed by the D and Deblack elements. The elements may be metals or non-metals combined together. So, but in that one, if for suppose I am taking as gold. So gold is the mixture of Au plus copper. It's not pure gold. There is a small amount of the copper. So one component is highest percentage in alloys formation. One element will be highest percentage. So that is called as solvent, and another element will be lowest content, that is called as solute. So the mixture that is called as solution, that we know. So any alloys, the mixture of two or more metals, one metal percentage is higher and another metal percentage will be lower. The metal which is having the highest percentage, that is called as solvent. The metal which is having the lowest percentage, that is called as solute. Transition metals can satisfy these conditions for the number of alloys among themselves. Transition metals are ready to form. They are following these D Black elements can follow the one rule, that is Hume-Rothery rule for the formation alloys. What is that rule means? One metal percentage composition is higher, another one is lower. That is our rule. Many metals can form the many numerous alloys. Some of the important alloys are brass. Brass. Brass is an alloy of copper plus zinc. Bell metal. Bell metal. It is an alloy of copper and tin. It's an alloy of copper and tin. Here copper percentage is higher and tin percentage is lower. Same brass containing copper percentage is higher and zinc percentage is lower. Monil metal. Monil metal. So monil metal, it is an alloy of nickel and copper. Nickel plus copper. These are some important alloys for us. And next most important property for the D and Deblack elements is formation of interstitial compounds. Formation of interstitial compounds. So what is meant by first of all interstitial compounds? Interstitial compounds is also called as non-stoichiometric compounds. So compounds we know stoichiometry. Stoichiometry means it is you are able to balance, but non-stoichiometric compounds are interstitial compounds. Means non-balancing non-balancing compounds. For example, some of the chemical compounds while we are looking, so we are feeling it is a different. For example, Mn4n, zirconium hydride 1.92. Generally, stoichiometric coefficients we are having the normal numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, but some of the metals can form interstitial compounds. First of all, how the interstitial compounds are formed? So, interstitial compound means metals having the particular regular geometry. For example, I am taking one metal. That metal having a regular geometry. Regular geometry means it is a perfect solids. So these are the metal atoms. The gap between the metal atoms, this gap is called as interstitial site. The gap between the metal atoms is called as interstitial site. So this interstitial sites are occupied by, in chemistry, less atomic size of elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. For suppose we are feeling this is iron, and oxygen will go and occupy this place. So can form the rust, iron oxide. Same like that, but iron oxide we don't have the exact formula. Same like that, lower molecular weights like hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon or oxygen go and occupy these interstitial sites, and it can form a new compound like titanium carbide, zirconium hydride 1.92, Mn4n, manganese nitride, iron hydride, Fe3H, iron hydride, titanium hydride, TiH 1.7, etc. Sir, what is the use of formation of the interstitial compounds? By the formation of interstitial compounds, there is some uses for us. See, interstitial compounds of alloys of a compound formed by the small atoms like hydrogen, carbon, boron, nitrogen, oxygen will be interstitial holes of the metallic lattice. Already I show you in the metallic lattice, that means metallic structure. So it can form the interstitial compounds. Transition metal form a many number of interstitial compounds like these examples. By the formation of interstitial compounds, there are lot of uses for us. That is, metals becomes very hard. Normal pure metallic state we can feel it is some softer. By the formation of interstitial compounds, they becomes very hard, and they increase the thermal conductivity, they increase the melting points, they increase the tensile strength when compared with pure state. For example, any metal in pure state it is the low melting point. After the formation of interstitial compound, it can show the high melting points. Transition metal hydrides are useful for the powerful reducing agents. So metallic hydrides we are using. These are the powerful reducing agents. These are the powerful reducing agents, and more metallic carbides are chemically inert. Metallic carbides, titanium carbide, metallic carbides are chemically inert, so they cannot react with any other compounds, means it can form the more stable compounds. So interstitial compounds, by the formation of interstitial compounds, there is a lot of uses for us, like increasing the melting points, increasing their strength, thermal conductivity, like this. So these are the some important interstitial compounds formation. Then formation, next another important chemical properties of the d and a block elements is formation of complexes. Formation of complexes. Complex compounds in our life, where we are seeing the complex compounds, name itself complex means complicated. Complicated means for example, hemoglobin. You are seeing the hemoglobin structure, it's a very big diagram. So in that hemoglobin structure, we are having the central metal atom is iron. Vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 company, it is having the very big diagram. We are not able to draw. So why? Because it is very big, complicated structure, complex structure. So there we are having the element is cobalt. So complex formation. So D black elements are having another important property, that is formation of complexes. So first of all, these elements why can form the complex? See, formation of complexes. Transition elements having a tendency to form a coordination compounds. Complex compounds, complexes or complex compounds is also one more name we are having, coordination compounds. So what is the meaning of coordination? Coordination. Coordination means each and every element having a fixed coordination number. Cobalt 6, nickel 4, like this. So maximum most of the D black elements can form the complex compounds with coordination number 6. What is the coordination number? So how to it can form the complex compounds? Everything we are going to discuss in the next chapter. Next chapter name itself coordination complex or coordination compounds or complex compounds. First of all, these complex compounds, why D black elements can form the complex compound means transition metal ions are having are small and high charged, and they have the vacant low energy orbitals. Because of why D block elements, why D block elements can form complexes means because of vacant d orbitals. If there is a vacant d orbitals, if the d orbitals are vacant, what happen? If the vacant d orbitals are there, so it is ready to accept electrons. They are ready to they are ready to accept electrons. So any element, so D block element or D block elements, any element is ready to accept the electrons. Electron pair acceptor, so that is called as Lewis base. Electron pair donor, Lewis acid. Electron pair, sorry, electron pair acceptor, that is Lewis acid. Okay. No, anyway, complex compounds are having is they are ready to accept the electrons because of they are having vacant d orbitals. These vacant d orbitals are ready to accept the electrons, so it can form the complex compounds. Some of the important complex compounds they are given. So we are going to discuss about the complete discussion about the complex compounds in next lessons. But here they are giving some complex compounds, that is iron, Cn 6 times, power 4 minus. Sir, how I know? How can I form this complex? How can I memorize? How can I draw these diagrams? If you are asking the question like this means, see, for example, cobalt atomic number 27, cobalt stable oxidation state plus 3. So 3 electrons lost means now atomic number 24. Next upcoming noble gas is 36. 36 36 means difference between these two, so 12. So Lewis acid means electron pair donor. Lewis base, electron pair donor Lewis acid and electron pair acceptor. Sorry, electron pair donor Lewis base and electron pair acceptor Lewis acid. So d black elements are ready to accept the electrons. Now the difference is 12. See the difference between the electrons. Difference between the 24 and 36 is 12. So each Lewis acid, so 12 electrons. So 12 electrons means 6 pairs. This 6 is called as our coordination number. Now cobalt having the coordination number, that is 6. You can able to calculate for each and element like this. That is, now cobalt coordination number is 6. I am taking the water molecules 6 and its stable oxidation state is +3. Water having no oxidation state, so power +3. Okay. So lot of complexes we are going to discuss in the further chapter, upcoming chapter. Next chapter we are going to discuss detail about this Lewis acid and base. And another most important chemical property for the D and F block elements is color. Book back also we are having questions how to find out the color. So laboratory, whatever the chemicals you are observing in colored compounds, that is must containing D black elements. For example, blue color solution you are observing, blue color, so that is must be copper. So, iron +3, there is a yellow color. Iron +2, there is a pale green color. Like this. First of all, the D black elements, how they can show the color property. Color is due to unpaired of d electrons. If the any D black element having at least one unpaired of d electron, it can show the color. For suppose, we have to say whether the element can show the color or not, but exactly we don't know what is the color of the element. For example, I am giving the zinc +2, so we have to say whether it is color or colorless. Color or colorless. How can we say whether it is color or colorless? Means zinc atomic number 30, electronic configuration is 4s2 3d10, and zinc +2 is electronic configuration is 4s0 3d10. D10 completely filled electronic configuration. So there is no D unpaired of electrons. So there is no unpaired of d electrons, it is colorless. Element having unpaired of electron, then only color. Yes sir, why the unpaired of electrons only there, then you can say the color means, because any element having the unpaired of electron, that electron can gain the energy from the sunlight, so it can undergo for the excitation and de-excitation. So we know in atomic structure with jar, any excited molecule is highly unstable, again it is coming to the de-excitation. On that de-excitation it can emit some radiation, that emitted radiation is passing through the prism, we can get the colors with jar. Okay, so emission spectra we can get. Some of the compounds I will say, how can you say the colorless? Some colorless compounds, some colorless D black ions, scandium plus 3, titanium plus 4, vanadium plus 5, chromium plus 6, manganese plus 7, copper plus 1, zinc plus 2. If you want means write the electronic configuration of all these elements, we are having only D0 configuration, and some of them they are having D10 configuration, D0 or D10 configuration. So any element having the D0 or D10 configuration we can say that is colorless. And some of the important colors we have to memorize, that is copper plus 2, vanadium plus 3, vanadium plus 4, chromium plus 2, these are blue color, nickel plus 2, it's a green. Already I told you Fe plus 3 is yellow and Fe plus 2 is green color. Vanadium plus 2, chromium plus 3, manganese plus 3, these are violet color, violet color. Cobalt plus 2 and cobalt plus 3, bluish pink, bluish pink color. So this is the color property. So far we are discussing about the D and A black elements, a lot of different properties we are discussing, like atomic radius, ionic radius, color, complex formation, alloys formation, interstitial compounds, different oxidation states, ionization energy, melting points. See, each and every property we are discussing and comparing with the 3D and 4D series of elements. And further discussion for the D and A black elements or transition elements is, so we have to discuss about the some most important chemical compounds in transition elements. Important chemical compounds. Important chemical compounds in D block. In D block. So only we are going to discuss only two important chemical compounds, that is KMnO4 and K2Cr2O7. These two are most important towards practicals also. We are using the practical KMnO4 also, potassium permanganate, potassium dichromate, K2Cr2O7. These two important chemical compounds in their physical and chemical properties we are seeing. So before going to these compounds, we are going to discuss some other extra property, that is acidic nature. So generally transition elements and their oxides formed by the reaction, transition metal molecules oxygen at high temperature, except that the first member of the 3D series of like scandium and other transition elements are ionic metallic oxides, ionic metal oxides. The oxidation number of the metal oxides ranges from +2 to +7. So we know in oxidation state for 3D series of elements, it is varies from +2 to +7. So one element we are taking, one element itself can show the lot of oxides. For suppose I am taking iron reaction with oxygen, it can form the different types of oxides. FeO, iron oxide, ferrous oxide, Fe2O3, ferric oxide, Fe3O4. ferroferric oxide. So, 3 different oxides are we are seeing. Here ion oxidation state is +2, here ion oxidation state is +3, here ion oxidation state we can calculate 3x plus 4 into -2 equal to 0. So, x equal to 8 by 3. So, 8 by 3 means 2.6 something. So, anyway, any d black element can show one element itself can show the different oxidation state. We have to memorize most important property is uh, element with element with low oxidation state is ionic. Ionic. Same element with high oxidation state is covalent. And element with in between oxidation state is amphoteric in nature. So, in previous example, which is acidic and which is basic and which is amphoteric, otherwise which is ionic or covalent. So, if the compound is ionic, so nature of that oxide is basic. More ionic, that compound is more basic. If it is more covalent, that is more acidic. In between oxidation state, we can say that is amphoteric in nature. So, acidic, basic and amphoteric nature. Now, we can see ion, lower oxidation state. So, this is ionic. Ion with high oxidation state, this is covalent. And in between, we cannot say whether it is completely ionic or completely covalent. So, in between, partially. So, ionic also as well as covalent also. The compound is ionic, we can say that is more basic, and this is covalent. So, which can say this is acidic, and in between we can say that is amphoteric. That means in examination they will ask which of the following is more acidic or which of the following is more basic or amphoteric. So, simply we can calculate the oxidation state. If the element having lower oxidation state, that is basic and ionic also, higher oxidation state, that is covalent as well as acidic also, and in between amphoteric also. And they will ask which of the following oxide is the more stable oxide. So, ionic bond stable or covalent bond stable means ionic bond breakable, covalent bond non-breakable. So, it is more stable. So, already we know iron plus 3 is more stable. Iron plus 3 is more stable because of d5 electronic configuration. Already we are seeing in oxidation state itself. So, simply we can say covalent compounds are more stable when compared with ionic. So, here we have to memorize more strong and important point is lower oxidation states are basic as well as ionic, higher oxidation states are covalent as well as acidic, and in between is amphoteric. For suppose in our book they are given our book containing, for example, manganese can show the Mn2O7. 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 In Mn2O7, manganese oxidation state is +7. So, +7 more stable oxidation state of manganese. +7 is highest oxidation state. So, this we can say that is covalent. So, why we are saying this is acidic? அதுக்கு என்ன reason இருக்கா? So, there is a reason. Manganese oxide when you are dissolved in water, manganese oxide when you are dissolved in water, we can get permanganic acid, HMnO4, permanganic acid. Potassium permanganate we can say KMnO4, we can get permanganic acid 2 moles. So, any covalent compound when you are dissolved in water, so it can form an acid. So, that is why we can say covalent compounds are acidic. Another example you can see chromium oxide CrO3, same like that chromium oxide. In this chromium oxide, chromium oxidation state is +6. Just once you can refer the oxidation state of the chromium, more stable oxidation state is 6. Now more stable oxidation state is 6 means, so it is dissolved in water. Chromium oxide, when it can dissolve in water, it can form two types of acids, that is dichromic acid and chromic acid. Chromic acid H2Cr O4 and dichromic acid H2Cr2O7. So simply we can say the element is having higher oxidation state, that is covalent, and as well as it can form the acidic compounds. Now chromium we are having the different oxidation states. For suppose I am giving the some oxidation states of different oxides of chromium. Chromium oxide CrO3 and Cr2O3, Cr2O3 and CrO, which is acidic, which is basic, and which is amphoteric. Its oxidation state is +6, its oxidation state is +2, and its oxidation state is +3. Lower oxidation states ionic as well as its basic. Higher oxidation state is its covalent as well as acidic, and in between this is amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric oxides. So these are the general discussion for before going to the so important compounds of transition elements, oxides and oxyanions of the metals. Now let us see the most important chemical compound, that is potassium dichromate and potassium permanganate, their physical and chemical properties we will see in the next class. Thank you very much guys.